Today we're gonna talk about LXLE. Is one of the fastest Ubuntu distributions that I have actually worked with. The main intent was to install it in some of the old laptops that I had. I wanted to use those as experimental platforms, and then basically I was looking for a really fast version of Linux. So I decided to go with LXLE. Again, LXLE is based on Ubuntu LTS, and actually I'm very impressed with this piece of software. I tried others before. I tried Soaring, and I also tried Peppermint. In fact, I have Peppermint loaded on my desktop, but I decided to go with LXLE because even on my desktop, it runs faster than my desktop. That's incredible. And then, I believe that it also has the best wireless card driver support of all of the distributions that I work with. Now, here's my system configurations and my system's specifications. And it's basically HP laptop 15-inch. I upgraded it to 8 megs of RAM. It came originally with 6, and I also installed a 250 gig SSD drive. It's a Samsung. I tried other ones, but this Samsung, I was told by Best Buy that that was top of the line, so I decided to go with that. I'm just going to explain you the install ahead of time, and it's a pretty simple install. I'm going to be loading from the USB thumb drive that I have on the host machine, and then also it's going to be installed on VMware, VirtualBox as one of the machines. And then once it's installed there, I will show you the speed of this particular version LXLE. Again, it comes in 32 and 64 bits, and the performance on the older laptops was okay. The performance on the newer laptop is better. So let's go to the actual install. So here we are on my desktop. And what we're gonna do now, we're gonna open VirtualBox. Um, Here it is over my other screen. Apologize for that. And what we're gonna do, we're going to basically create the virtual machine that I'm gonna use to install LXLE on. So it's pretty straightforward process. We're just gonna click over here on new, and then we're gonna put in the name. I'm gonna use LXLE 5, and then the machine is gonna be a Linux base, and then it's going to be Ubuntu 32-bit, because I'm using a 32-bit ISO for the LXLE install. And so we're gonna click on next. We're gonna choose pretty much the defaults over here, and again, these are experimental machines, so my configurations are going to be pretty loose and pretty standard default. So 1024 for the memory size. As you can see, I could allocate so much more, but I'm just gonna go with the defaults. I'm gonna click on next. Then I'm going to create a virtual hard disk. I'm gonna choose on create. Then it's gonna be a virtual machine disk dedicated for that particular virtual machine. So we're gonna click on next, and then we're going to basically dynamically allocate the space, so that way it will expand and close up to a certain amount. And over here, the total of the drive is going to be 10 gigs, and I'm going to call it LXLE 5 virtual machine disk, VMD. And at this point, 10 gig is fine, so we're going to choose create, and here it is. The machine LXLE 5 is power off right now. So what we want to do, I want to go over some of the configurations that I use on VirtualBox that seem to work pretty good for the machines that I have actually created. So if you have the machine already, you could either right click on it and go to settings, or go to settings over here. So we're going to go to settings, and over here on where it says systems, I'll pretty much leave that to standard. On the processor, I basically take, sometimes I use two processors. If it gives you any problems, you could allocate two processors, no problem. And then on the acceleration tab, I do have virtual technology, which is Intel or AMD virtualization enabled, and also nested paging enable. So for the display, I have noticed that if I take this machine and I use the total amount allocated of memory, of video memory for that, that works pretty good. Now on this machine also, what we're gonna have to do, we're gonna have to boot it to the ISO file for the LXLE 32-bit. So I'm gonna go over here to empty, and then on this little disk, I'm gonna tell it to choose a virtual optical disk file. And then so I'm going to come over here, I have it on my downloads already, and I'm going to choose the ISO LXLE 32, and we're going to open it, and it's going to be there already. Okay, that's the location of the image. And over here I'm going to click OK, and here's the virtual machine. Now what we're going to do now, this virtual machine LXLE 5 is already selected, so I'm going to come over here, I'm going to choose normal start, and so the machine is going to start now. Right now I'm just going to choose install, do the installer directly. So you're going to see right now, I'm going to expand the screen a little bit so we can see a little better what's going on. So the machine right now is reading the ISO. Like I say, it booted up to the ISO. It's reading the files in the ISO. It wants to make sure that there is a operating system booting files type of structure there. It's going to check some services. It's going to unpack some things at this point. Basically, it's going to load everything that it needs for the initial start. So it's loading a lot of these things into memory right now, and it's using that memory to do what it does. It's pretty, how can I say to you, it's a pretty straightforward process. And also, not only that it's a pretty straightforward process, but it's pretty much the same process that I have noticed in most of the Ubuntu distributions. They seem to use the same lines of code for the initial installation of this flavor of Ubuntu's. Okay, so over here it's gonna basically say, which language. We're gonna go over English. And then we're going to go into the next, we're going to choose the keyboard layout, which is English United States. And at this point, we're just going to download updates and then also install third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi. It's convenient because there might be some drivers that you might need that might be proprietary, or it might be from some Linux repository. So you want to, I suggest that we use both of those. Okay, if it gives you any problems, then you can always come back and deselect install third-party software. Okay, so I'm just going to click on continue. At that point, it's going to come back and it's going to ask me these questions right here. Now remember, I created this virtual machine specifically for the installation of LXLE. Okay, so I don't have to worry about erasing files, but always keep in mind that if you're trying to do like a dual boot, or you're trying to do any special configuration on your hard drives and partitions, then that's a whole different situation. You will have to know how to configure those partitions, the space that you have available, the type of partitions, and those type of things. But at this point, we're not concerned about that. We're only concerned with doing like a straightforward installation of the operating system. And again, it says over here, this will delete all of your programs, documents, photos, music, and any other files in all operating systems. So that's fine. We don't have to worry about that. I'm going to click on install now. At this point, it's going to come back again. It's going to tell you the partitions configuration that you're going to have. Okay, and you're just going to choose continue. And then at this point, you're going to see that little clock ticking right here in the middle that I'm moving it. That's basically telling you that it's configuring the spaces and the partitions on the hard drives. Over here, I'm just going to choose Central Standard Time, United States. Chicago is fine. You choose the one that pertains to your area. Okay. Now, you're gonna have a couple more questions. In this case, like I say, it's an experimental machine, so I'm just gonna put in all lowercase, the name of the name that I want to use for log on, and I'm gonna give it a short password. Here we go, and then I'm gonna choose to log in automatically. If this is a machine that you're using for some other type of purposes and you want to have something a little bit more persistent, then you probably gonna have to increase the levels of security and come up with more complex passwords and logins, etc. Okay, so I'm just gonna click on continue. At this point, from here, it's gonna go into basically unpacking all of the files, copying all of the files from the ISO, and configuring your hardware. This particular piece right here, okay, this particular phase it could be anywhere from 5 to maybe 15 minutes, but usually it's anywhere between 5 to 10. Okay, I've seen it a little bit slower, but not that much more. Okay, so it's gonna copy files. The only place where I've seen this area of the installation right here that it fails is when it says configuring hardware. And usually I notice that it's kind of trying to copy certain things, and if the partition configurations is not the correct one, then it usually fails there. I mean, you could always go back and verify your drives, make sure that there is no issues there with your drive, make sure that everything is good to go with them. But usually that was my case. Okay, so that's what in this installation, you notice that I went with erase disk, brand new installation, destroy all the partitions and the data. That's perfectly fine. One trivial thing that I would like to mention is that it's kind of interesting how they use kind of like the matrix theme on this area. It's sort of like entertaining and ironic in a way, because yeah, this is the software of the future. Yeah, and by the way, I'm not getting, and I'm not endorsing LXLE. I don't get paid by anyone. It's just straight, honest information that I'm trying to pass on to you guys in all of these. And also, make sure that you give it a like, subscribe. I will appreciate that, and so that way we get more support and we'll continue to keep making videos, getting you some information. So like I say again, this section right here is going to take you anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, etc. On the average is about 10. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to let it come to an end, and I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to come back with what happens at the very end, the message that you will receive at the very end of the installation. Okay, so I'll see you guys in a second. Alright, so this is the message that you are going to get upon the completion of the installation of LXLE. At this point, like I said, the previous phase, 10 minutes, 15 minutes perhaps, even 5, I've seen it moved that fast. So I'm just going to choose restart now. And then basically it's going to send a shutdown command to my machine, to my virtual box. And at this point it's going to again unpack, but it's basically loading to the machine itself. It's no longer loading to the ISO. It's going to use the OS that was installed, and I'll show you guys now what this machine is going to be doing. It's pretty straightforward process, and you'll see how fast this thing really is. I'll show you here in a second. Here you go, it's coming up right now, and then I'm just gonna put in, that was the test user that I created first. I'm just gonna put in the short password that I also created. I'm gonna press login, and here we are on the desktop for LXLE. It's pretty elegant if you ask me. It's got a nice graphics feeling to it. Basically out here, what you're gonna see, you're gonna come over here, and then it's gonna give you all of the accessories that it has. You see how fast it actually goes. I'm gonna pull up a calculator. Look how fast that thing pulls up. It's amazing. And then I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna pull up on maybe like Pluma. Pluma is one of those word processors, text editors, etc. Again, my virtual machine is also, how can I say to you, is also connected through network address translation through the wireless card of the host machine, of the host physical machine. Okay, so you can see how fast these programs load. That's what I was impressed with. Here we go. Audacity is usually one that it takes a couple of seconds, but Audacity is a big program, so you know that still is loading pretty nicely. And remember, this is inside a virtual box, which has to go through one more layer, actually two layers, virtual box and then the actual machine to be able to take advantage of the resources. But as you can see, it's very easily, it's already connected to the internet. It does that automatically. And I will hopefully make another video at one point on the installation of VirtualBox. All right. I'm gonna try to go to the internet. It comes with this SeaMonkey browser. It's probably, as we know right now, I probably have a connection that's not so good out here. In my internet connection is kind of late and everybody is online. So, but I'm gonna try to do the best with this part right here. So I'm gonna go to a LXLE website, and that way you guys can see the machine is very nice. I mean, anybody that has deal with this knows that this is pretty decent. This is a pretty decent, how can I say to you, you know, loads with pretty decent speeds. Okay, that's pretty nice. You see Google, and I'll even pull up YouTube, which by the way is kind of, you know, it has a lot of videos that come in on the front end, so it usually takes a little bit of time. The searching is pretty fast, and actually, as you can see, there's a lot of videos and there's a lot of thumbnails, and it's kind of heavy on the graphics card and the memory, but it's not bad at all. You see that? So anyways, that's what I wanted to show you guys. Let me see if we have any other. We also have a calendar. That one pulls up okay. And remember, this is the first time I pulled up any one of these pieces of software. Okay, so look at that. You know, it's amazing. It's amazing. You get just about everything. I don't want to update the cache at this point. I just wanted to show you these things. And actually, you know, it's funny how this machine, you could pretty much, it's very durable. It doesn't give you any problems. It's not at all, how can I say to you, it's not at all slow. It's not at all, it doesn't break easily, basically, you know. And that's something that, you know, you really want. That's something that you really like. You see how these programs, they load pretty fast. I haven't done anything to this machine. I have not fine-tuned it. The only fine-tuning that I did was the when I was creating the virtual machine. I told you about maxing out the memory, increase the amount of processors from 1 to 2, and then make sure that you have your virtual technology or virtualization if you have an AMD processor installed. But that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, I will actually close out with some things that I would like you guys to go away with, and I'll see you in the next couple of seconds. So in closing, one of the main things that I would like you guys to take away with you, and usually these are the things that I try to do. I try to download my ISO files from like US servers. I feel a little bit better in that aspect. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're guaranteed to get an ISO image that has not been tampered with. But I think that you may have perhaps um, a little bit more assurance that it might be uh, not tampered with. The next thing is to learn how to verify the MD5 and the SHA 256 hashes. Usually, or at least for LXLE, the instructions for that are on the website itself, on the same page where you download the ISO files from. And then ultimately use any of the several ISO extracting tools. You will need those to create USBs, or if at one point you want to experiment with doing like a live boot from a thumb drive or something along those lines, you will need some of those. Well, I hope that this video gave you enough information for you to engage in your own journey of Linux, Ubuntu, and all these other wonderful open source operating software. Again, if you like it, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you can. We will really appreciate that, and hope to see you guys soon. I will if you subscribe, you will get at least one or two more of these videos a week from now on.